course. Are there any questions?
If I can maybe ask a quick question. Stephen Zhang at large. Hey, Damon, thank you so much for coming, and it's always a pleasure to kind of see you. I've heard you at UPUA for multiple years now, and it's always really cool to kind of get administrative input, especially as a student and also as a student representative, to kind of see where UPUA can continue improving and working with administration. I wanted to kind of hear your take on a lot of the student gatherings that have been happening as a result of football. I know that over the weekend there have been, quite a few parties, and whether we like it or not, I think that it's also been, a big concern for the community. And I was kind of wondering, what is there? Does Penn State have any, or if you know whether Penn State has any plans in terms of responding to some of these parties or these gatherings if they happen in the future, and like what does this mean for Penn State's COVID plan as a whole?
Yeah, that's a great question. So you're all probably aware that over the weekend we had 3 fairly large gatherings off campus and high rises. I was commending students because I think that students overwhelmingly have done the right thing through this experience. We wouldn't have gotten this far if that weren't true. But those were examples of not the right thing, just the opposite of what we want to see. And we were very disappointed to see it. On Sunday night, I convened a gathering that had leadership from the Borough of State College, from the university, the respective police forces, and a number of folks on the call, just to talk through how we're going to respond to the issue. And then last night we had a conversation with local landlords, because candidly, I think we felt that in the instance over the weekend with those 3 events, the property owners, property managers, had not really done everything they could to minimize the risk. These are private properties. We don't control those. They need to be partners with us too. So we had a good constructive conversation with them. I think they're eager to do that. They're actually, the larger complexes have agreed to close off those larger gathering spaces that they have in their facilities to avoid any replication of last weekend's activities going forward. We're also, I think the Borough Police and the University Police are investigating those incidents. There are some videos from security cameras, and if they identify people who seem to be responsible for clear violations of expectations, someone may be held accountable. But as it stands, the police really intervened for the purpose of dispersing the crowd, not for issuing citations. So we don't have the identities of students. A larger concern, frankly, is whether that was a super spreader event and whether students there are infected and don't know it. And then, of course, we have an even more problematic weekend potentially coming up because of Halloween, a home game, night game, game day activities, all that stuff. So we don't want students who may be infected and not know it to then infect more still, because that could actually jeopardize getting to the end of the semester, or when students are going through exit testing that they may want to pursue before they go home, that may be where positives show up, and that's going to complicate their ability to go home and do what they want to do through the holiday. It could even complicate their return in the spring, because any re-entry testing, there's a 90-day period where you would show up positive still. And so it's better to get this taken care of now. I would encourage you to encourage any of your friends to go over to Pagula and get tested. Find out what the situation is, take advantage of that now, try to minimize whatever harm occurred over the weekend. But I assure you, we're on it. We're addressing it. We need the partnership of students to make sure those things don't happen again. It's a large university, and so we always have a subset of students or others who don't behave quite the way we'd like for them to. But still, the overwhelming majority of students are doing exactly the right thing, and I'm very grateful for that.
Thank you.
Yep.
Chair Jordan?
Sarah Jordan at large. Thank you so much for coming in and talking. We do really appreciate all the time you take. I know you mentioned just before this the return to campus in January. I know in the summer there was those precautionary tests that were given to students in high contact areas. Is there any like talks about doing that again come December or like beginning of January before we come back, or no?
Yeah, Sarah, what exactly we're going to do, we haven't quite decided, but there will be some return testing, pre-arrival testing that we do again. We're going to have to do that because of the same reason we did it the first time. Students are going away, they're going to be in various places, and we need to ensure that we minimize the return of the virus when they come back to us so that we begin at a good base level. We're trying to figure out how robust that can be. And I know that we learned some lessons the first time around that we'd like to do better the second time around, and I think we will. But there will be some pre-arrival testing that's part of the return in the spring semester.
Are there any other questions for Damon? Representative Robertson?
Hi, Vice President Sims. I just wanted to thank you again for coming to speak with us. My question is also kind of surrounding COVID. So like we know Penn State has the most cases for any university outside of the Deep South and the most in the Big Ten, with a tenfold increase in Center County cases since August, and also ongoing record-setting hospitalizations at our local small hospital. Additionally, we know that local schools were online for a month due to the massive surge in cases during our reopening, and over 1,000 faculty and community members signed a petition. So my question is more so about like, how does the university plan to repair those relations with a community that has been so adversely affected by the Back to State plan? Thank you so much.
Yeah, no, a good question. I actually think the university has done the community a service because I think that had we not returned people in the way we did, if we hadn't returned to in-person experiences, probably a third of the community jobs would have gone away. We couldn't have kept people employed. And we just had a meeting today, President Barron, David Gray, Nick Jones and I, Zach Moore. We met with the mayor, members of the Borough Council, Tom Fontaine, the borough manager, and talked for about an hour and a half. I think we made clear there our feeling that the plan that we put in place has gone about as well as we could possibly have hoped. You're right, there are more cases now than there were when half the population in the community was gone. When we doubled the population overnight by returning students, we of course brought some of the virus to us. But the question was never whether the virus would return with students. It was whether we could manage that effectively, avoid overwhelming the local healthcare system. The last report I had, the Mount Nittany Medical Center today has 13 COVID patients. That is a manageable number. We have 100 students in quarantine and isolation space on campus. That's less than a quarter of our space. The number of cases is going down at University Park, not increasing. So all the factors that we look at to determine whether this is going in a direction that we want it to go are looking pretty positive, and we have managed to avoid an economic demise for this community and other communities that Penn State inhabits that I think would have befallen those places had we not returned. So it is a challenge. It is a challenge to balance these interests, and it feels like regardless what direction we go, someone's going to be displeased with us. I think we know that. So we're trying to do the best we can and do it as wisely and safely as we can. And I'm fairly confident that the local leadership in the community understands that and is frankly grateful that the university has returned students and done it in a thoughtful way. So I'm hopeful that students will continue to behave in the way they have been behaving and not repeat behaviors that we saw last weekend. And I certainly hope we can persist with this through the coming spring semester, because we are going to be faced with these same expectations then, the same challenges then, and you overlay that with flu, it gets a little more difficult. And so we've got to redouble our efforts, but I'm confident that we can do that and do it successfully.
And with that, we are out of time for questions. But again, thank you for coming in and again, taking your night to talk to us. Again, feel free to stay if you'd like, but our meetings do run long and we are having a discussion later on. But again, thank you.
Barry Bram always gives me a primer afterwards, so I will wait for the Barry Bram version. See you guys. Thanks very much.
Thank you. All righty. And with that, we will move down the agenda with Open Student Forum. Is there anyone here for Open Student Forum? And if you're an attendee, Representative Clipson, you cannot have Barry Bram's version, you have to say. But for the attendees, if you are here for Open Student Forum, just raise your hand. I will be able to see it, but I will give it a couple seconds. All right, seeing none, we will now move on to report by the president. I believe he's here if he would like to give his report, but President McKay?
Yes, hello everyone. I hope you're doing well. I have a few things to report on today. The first is that on Saturday, I released a video address in support of the climate action petition. If you haven't already, please do check this out and sign on. As I mentioned in the address, I believe that we are truly at a critical moment in history and have a tremendous opportunity to elevate the voices of the many students who've already signed on by endorsing the petition on behalf of the UPUA through legislation as well. I've since met with a steering committee and have been encouraged to see their support. As I understand it, there is currently legislation in the works being led by Speaker Zhang, and I encourage all of you to sign on if you too believe in this momentous step forward for our university toward a better and more just future. I hope to see that legislation come as soon as possible, though I understand that it might be making its rounds through the Assembly's committees as well for greater say and collaboration. Last night, the World Campus Student Government Association passed a resolution endorsing the petition and its asks, and at the time of this writing, I know that the GPSA is planning to do or may have already done the exact same at their assembly meeting tonight. So I hope to have the support of the UPUA's General Assembly in taking this important and historic step to leave our university and world better than we found them. Moving on, yesterday, the Vice President and I met with Student Affairs Leadership, a design company, and various student leaders, I suppose, to learn more about the facilities master plan, talking a little bit about future expansions on campus, specifically in the Hub Robeson Center. Design plans were kept pretty broad. So what I'm excited for are future conversations where more specific feedback can be given on exactly what we might want to see brought about in those expansions in the hub, specifically student spaces, organization spaces on the first floor, helping students get more integrated with organizations, perhaps even like the student government, as we've talked about so often, and which right now, like other organizations, is tucked away on the third floor. Vice President Pathical and I will also meet with the Provost and Executive Vice President Nicholas Jones tomorrow. So please let us know if there's anything that you'd like to see us bring up specifically. I know that we'll certainly be pushing for alternative grading, as that has been very much so discussed in the ABTS realms. A lot of student body presidents are citing their provosts as citing other provosts for not acting. And I think as more schools start to look at this as a viable option for educational equity, I think we'll see our own provost be more interested in pursuing that too. The Faculty Senate is also working to put together a special meeting tomorrow. And I have to say, I would leave it to perhaps the experts in the room who would be able to tell you a little bit more about that meeting. But I also plan to speak there in support of the alternative grade measures and would encourage all of you to do so as well too. Student Affairs is currently setting up a meeting to discuss a new PSU sexual misconduct survey and how to make that more consistent. This is a really big step towards getting real data on unreported cases of sexual assaults at Penn State and in helping stop them moving forward. Next, we're working on ironing out apparel delivery problems from the last assembly, our good old 14th assembly. If that pertains to any of you, Maybe you ordered specifically, some of the troubles were Patagonias. They either came in the wrong size or didn't come at all. Please reach out to Acting Executive Director of Finance, Rachel Chormansky, if you have any apparel items that you're still owed from last year, so that we can get it on record and brainstorm some next steps. I shared some of the testing incentive ideas raised by members here with the Student Affairs leadership team this week, and they seemed pretty receptive. So I'm hoping that some of those measures are taken up to help incentivize testing before getting sent home for Thanksgiving. If you haven't made a plan to vote, please do it. This should go without saying, but Election Day is on Tuesday. Vote in person. If you haven't somehow figured out your mail-in ballot request form by now, if you have your mail-in ballot, drop it off at a drop-off box. You can find one conveniently located on the Pollock Road entrance of the hub. Just make sure that you vote as soon as possible. I want to thank everyone who helped out in creating the PSU Votes voter guide, as well as helping table and register students to vote over the last few weeks. You guys crushed it as always. I suppose if there are any other further questions about elections, please reach out to Chair Doherty or Executive Director Harnett. Then lastly, I just came from dinner with Nora. It is her birthday. So if all of you have an opportunity, please do wish her a very happy birthday. And I would also like to thank the director of the PRCC, Carlos Wiley, for joining us tonight to have what I hope will be a very helpful and in-depth conversation that I would truly appreciate everybody to have their full attention given to, and hopefully some tangible steps will come from it. That's all I have. I would be more than happy to answer any questions or clarify anything or something like that.
Are there any questions for President McKay? All right, seeing none, we will now move on to my report. I'll try to keep it as quick as I can. Continuing the diversity, equity, inclusion AVP interviews for the following week. We'll be taking up a lot of my week, but again, that's exciting. It's just the process that's going. As Zach mentioned, or President McKay mentioned, meeting with Student Affairs Facilities Master Plan and the Student Fee Board. That was really interesting just to see like the expansion or possible expansion of the hub specifically and the ideas that will be brought about. Just like he mentioned, I would like a kind of follow-up meeting for more specific feedback there, but I was very grateful to be in that meeting just to see where our campus could go even after President McKay and I are gone. President McKay and I have also set up more frequent meetings with Provost Jones, and the first of many will be tomorrow. So if there are any questions that you'd like us to pass on to him, please, again, just reach out to President McKay or I, and we would love to do that. The final mental health crisis task force meeting will be this Friday. I will send any and all documents and meeting recordings because this is a really important research that was done for between the borough, between students, between a lot of health experts in this area. And it's really important for students to read up on, specifically because this was brought about after the shooting of Osaze Osagi. So please, again, if I have any resources, I would encourage you to read up on them. And then as a reminder, I have a Calendly link in my email signature. So if you have any questions, want to talk to me literally about absolutely anything, please set up a time so that we can meet. And then other than that, Chair Rodriguez and I are continuing work with Tim for the land acknowledgement. I passed on information of the land acknowledgement and the working draft to Damon. He received it very well. He's very intrigued and very interested. So for the following couple of months, we're really working closely with him and Chair Rodriguez to advance this advocacy to President Barron and Board of Trustees. That is ultimately our goal, so that the university as a whole takes a stance on this and recognizes the indigenous land that Penn State sits on. But other than that, that is it for my report. Are there any questions? All right, seeing none, we will now move on to new business, slide item A. Bill 0615, transportation to the Bryce Jordan Center on Election Day. Chair Jordan, if you'd like to introduce this.
Hi, everyone. Sarah Jordan at large. Yeah, so this piece of legislation is pretty straightforward. Thank you so much to Representative Tierney, Representative Clipstein, and Chair Doherty for helping out with this. They brought this idea to my attention a few weeks ago. So basically, it is pretty straightforward. We are going to fund a blue bus, like the ones you've seen, like the football players, sports teams in, on election day to go from the Thomas Building stop all the way to the rec hall, which is right near West, around the BJC, starting from 7 a.m. until 8 p.m. It's only going to be able to hold 8 people at a time, but during that same time, there's a campus shuttle that's already running right now. So if students need to be directed to that, we can. It is just one bus. It will be running all day, but we kind of did this because, as Jacob mentioned to me, that the hub is a central location usually for voting, but this year they moved it to UJC, so hopefully this urges more students to go vote instead of walking there. It's a little bit farther. So yeah, that's pretty much all. If any of them want to add anything, and I can yield them time, but if that, I'll stand for questions.
Are there any questions for Chair Jordan? All right, seeing none, is there any discussion?
Oh, sorry. Can I talk? Sarah Jordan at large. I just need to yield someone time to do the type remaining in the type 40.
I got it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yep. Amount remaining in type 40 is 134,104.57.
I second.
All right. And since that's literally fact, that will be taken as very friendly. Representative Clipstein.
Jacob Clipstein at large. Yeah, I want to thank Sarah for being a great sport on a short notice project. Or I guess Chair Jordan. It's funny when we say good things, we do first names, but when we say bad things, we're always like, make sure you stick to Chair and Representative. So thank you to Chair Jordan for helping us with this project on such short notice. I really appreciate it. And thank you for helping write it and pass it through facilities. This is going to be a great thing on election day. And we have so much money left in the type 40, as you just see, that I really think this is a good use of it. I also think that there are going to be a good amount of students that go to the hub this year thinking that that's where they voted in the past. So that's where they're going to vote this year. And I think Tim's comment in the chat. And I think that this will be a really good way to get students from the hub to centralized location to get them up to the Bryce Jordan Center in an easy and efficient manner. Combined with the Blue Loop and the campus shuttle that always go on these routes, we're basically guaranteeing every person who votes at the Bryce Jordan Center transportation. So this is great. It's one of the best pieces of legislation I've ever worked on, seriously, ever. And I'm really proud of the team for making this happen.
All right, is there any other discussion? All right, seeing none, I'm going to close the floor for debate and discussion. Since it is a bill, it does have to go by roll call. So Secretary Thomas, when you are ready, you may start roll call.
R.C. Kalor.
Yes.
Adeline Mishler. Alexander Wu. Amanda Bird.
Yes.
Amy Gary.
Yes.
Anna Taylor.
Yes.
Anne Marie Round Sorensen.
Yes.
Blake Tolliver.
Yes.
Brian Schultz. Cameron McColgan.
Yes.
Kara Flegel.
Yes.
Ann Risser, Aaron Bowes,
Yes.
Jacob Klipstein,
Yes.
Jarrell Gibbs, John Mark Miller,
John, we couldn't hear you. I don't know if you.
Oh, sorry. Yes.
you, Joshua Reynolds,
Yes.
Kaylee Quinnen, Cara DeLucio,
Yes.
Kelly Snyder,
Yes.
Kyle Quinn,
Yes.
Laken Meter, Lewis Richardson, Emmanuel Alamonte,
Yes.
Marie Meisner,
Yes.
Maddie McIntyre,
Yes.
Megan Dalo,
Yes.
Najee Rodriguez,
Yes.
Noah Robertson,
Yes.
Patricia Barangi,
Yes.
Rainier Foley Di Fiore,
Yes.
Refugio Lara,
Yes.
Ryan Lascalzo,
Yes.
Samantha Brown,
Yes.
Sarah Jordan,
Yes.
City Deshpande,
Yes.
Sophia Paleo,
Yes.
Stephen Zhang,
Yes.
Lee Gibbard,
Yes.
Tim Tierney,
Yes.
Tom Dougherty,
Yes.
Shirao Shah,
Yes.
Eugene Young, Yuna Choi,
Yes.
All right. Representative Schultz, I see your yes in the chat. Just give me a sec. All right, and with that, Bill 0615, transportation to the Bryce Jordan Center on Election Day passes unanimously, specifically with a vote of 36-0. And with that, we'll move on to comments for the good of the order. Are there any comments for the good of the order? Representative Reynolds?
Hi all, I just want to raise awareness of the fact that Military Appreciation Week is going to be coming up very soon after the election, and I will hopefully have something through the Governmental Affairs Committee. Mainly what they've requested for us is that we just help spread awareness, because since it's all virtual, there's not much to be helped with in person anyway. So basically, just keep an ear out for that and be ready to help spread on the infographics and support our student veterans as best you can when all that stuff goes underway. Thank you very much, and see you in very short order. Have a good week.
I also just want to remind everyone with comments for the good of the order, it's a 2-minute time limit. So just as a reminder to everybody. Chair Doherty?
Hey guys, this past week, a member of my fraternity was dealing with with mental illness, and we basically came to this issue. I came to this issue, and I wanted to just bring light and hope that there's someone here that maybe would be interested in pursuing this potentially if it was in student life. I tried to call Res Life Johnson Commons to ask for a check-in since he lived by himself. And he gets sort of, a little bit weirded out by people just asking to, like, he gets weirded out by talking about mental illness, but he definitely needed the checkup. And when I called Johnson Commons, the report I gave, they needed a name. And so I kind of delved in deeper and I was like, so you're not allowed to give anonymous reports like CAPS. And they said, well, if there's no name to the report, then usually it will not end up in the hands of the person who's going to go and check up on the individual. Which I don't know at the end of the day if there is a reasoning for this, but I kind of view it as kind of problematic because apparently they'll just throw them away if there's no name with the report, not to the individual, the person submitting the report. So I don't know if there's anything that can be done, or if this is something that has already been tried to be pushed for in the past, but that may be a nice thing to add in there in the future. So none of those reports are being thrown out just because people are choosing to remain anonymous. Thank you, guys.
Representative Lascalzo.
Hi, I just wanted to remind everybody, today is Intersex Awareness Day, as well as this week is Asexuality Awareness Week. Asexuality is the lack of sexual desire towards sexual attraction towards other people, and intersex is a wide range of conditions that people can be born with, or they're not explicitly male or female. And it's important we remember these people and remember to keep on working towards representation and working towards making sure that these members of the LGBT community are heard and represented at all levels. And yeah, that's it.
All right, Representative Tierney.
Tim Tierney at large. I don't know if any of you know this, but there is an election coming up. I know a lot of us are campaigning for candidates. We've been doing it for a long time. We're so close. I know that a lot of us are going to be working basically around the clock now until Tuesday. Just remember to take a break and remember that that there's more to life than just an election, especially when you're campaigning for it. Take time for yourself. Make sure that you don't get too caught up in the campaign work that you're doing. Make sure to just be yourself, and I hope to see you all nice and smiley next Wednesday.
Representative Gibbard.
Hi, everyone. Sydney Gibbard, College of Engineering. I was just going to say something really quick. Make sure you look at the graphics that we sent in the teams and then the group me. And if you can, please show up tomorrow at 1 p.m. for the alternative grading discussion we're having in Faculty Senate. We really want to show a lot of student support, and Faculty Senate has never hit their maximum of 500 participants. And if we did that, that would be really cool and show that we had overwhelming support. If you have any questions, reach out to Patty or Aaron.
Chair Rodriguez.
Hi, everyone. Happy Wednesday. I really just wanted to give a quick shout out to Christine, who's our social media manager. She's been doing a really good job with keeping up with kind of a post, really getting the word out with advocacy, especially in a virtual, in such a virtually heavy time. So if everyone could just give her a round of applause in the chat or anything like that. She's been working really hard, and I appreciate all the work that she's been put into the graphics and posting these. Thank you so much for managing everything. You're amazing. Have a great day, everyone.
Chair Doherty.
Hey guys, sorry, one last thing. We're going to be having some soft edge campaigns launch tomorrow, most likely. First one's going to be the combination of Homeland Security's new policy on restricting H-1B visas for international students. That's probably going to be the second one. And then the second one will be support of HR 7120, George Floyd Justice and Policing Act of 2020. Please, when these go live, I will put something in the teams. Please try to push this out as much as possible so we can get as much engagement from these campaigns as possible and the most amount of emails sent. Thank you.
All right, and with that, I believe Secretary Thomas is currently taking attendance again, as Speaker Zhang highlighted in the email. That will be happening throughout the discussion, just to make sure people aren't leaving. But I'm going to hand it off to Speaker Zhang.
Yeah. Thank you guys for, I guess, coming out tonight, even though we do this every Wednesday. But I think this is an especially pertinent discussion and a very candid one. We are going to be stopping the recording. The meeting is going to be closed to UPUA, so this can be a very open internal discussion. And I'm just, I'm going to be making sure at least everyone should be making sure that what we're saying tonight stays within UPUA. I really hope that if people are honest, we're putting our trust in each other, not to be, sharing what is said tonight outside, and that this is a very introspective session. So yeah, I mean, without further ado, I think Lexi and I will kind of look at the attendance, and anyone who's here who isn't part of UPUA. This is the end of the official UPUA meeting, so thank you guys for coming. But we'll be closing this for this internal discussion on anti-racism. And of course, I'll turn it over to Carlos as well. Apologies, Carlos, I had you in for 7:30, but I think, managing, having an organization of 40, 50 people isn't exactly the easiest to move. But yeah, thank you so much, Carlos, for being here. And I guess I'll just turn it over to you.
Thank you. Excuse me. Thank you for having me.